Hello and welcome back to the Brighter Podcast. My name is Chelsea.
My name is Batsheva.
My life is definitely brighter thanks to Batsheva.
My life is super brighter thanks to Chelsea.
We love to come on here and share stories, tools, techniques, in hopes that by sharing and being open and vulnerable, that our experiences will help to brighten and help your journey. And today, before we get started, diving deep into some things, we're going to do what we like to do, which is to bring ourselves to the space. So if you're in a place where you can close down your eyes, I offer you that opportunity. Otherwise, you can just breathe with us. So taking a nice deep breath in the nose and exhaling out the mouth. Another deep breath in the nose and exhaling out the mouth. Last breath, deepest one, in through the nose. And exhale out through the mouth. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today, we are excited to be sharing with you how to protect your energy, how to protect your space, how to cleanse yourself.
How to protect that part of you that may be vulnerable to outside influence and then perhaps lead you in a direction emotionally or physically in life that winds up not being for your highest and best interest. Or not feeling good, being able to keep your inner voice loud and clear without the interference of other radio stations.
Yes. So whenever I was thinking about this topic, I was thinking about interactions that people have approached me to ask kind of, like what are some of the practices that you do? And, I have one-on-one clients and also like group events and retreats. And some of the things that I like to do to prepare myself, even before going into those, is taking a shower and just envisioning the water as cleansing, even speaking to it like, I also am Reiki certified. So sometimes I will draw some of the Reiki symbols over the water that's coming out and then just speaking to it, may this water cleanse my body, mind, and spirit so that I move forward in a way that is for my highest good and the highest good of all the people that I am going to come into contact with. So that's really helpful for me. Also using sage or using some incense or anything like that to kind of cleanse a space or cleanse food, or like whenever I prepare the cacao, I usually use incense and kind of cleanse any energy off of that before I have it. Then kind of the same thing afterwards. People come into our home or into another space and cleanse the area, cleanse it before they get there. There's the smoke and water purification techniques, or even just kind of like sometimes I like to use the sound bowls, the singing bowls, to use sound and vibration to cleanse a space. And then, afterwards, what do you think, Batsheva?
I definitely appreciate how much you have integrated these techniques into your day-to-day life. I've just observed and witnessed and also been inspired by your almost everyday use of a lot of those tools. And when you first showed me how to chop up the cacao that I get from you, and I used your video and you put the incense and, the way you kind of waved it around yourself and the cacao and all the instruments you're using. And it's just like that extra step that it serves physically because there's a cleansing agent and energetically in the smoke of the incense. And then also totally mentally too, allowing us just a second to realign ourselves with our internal compass versus whatever's bothering us in the moment, and all the things going on around us. Or, for example, I was really inspired when you were last visiting me and before we were eating, you took a moment to kind of bless or pray over your food. And I know this is something that many people in many traditions are taught to do. And actually in Judaism, there's literally a prayer, a blessing that we can say before every single bite if we are so inclined. But you have really internalized it. And that's what I admire. And I almost wonder if it's one of the reasons that you almost aren't saying and sharing as many stories as sometimes you will with a new topic. I feel like you've really fully integrated this, like very well, at least that part of it. Whereas I would say for myself, I'm still in the toddler stage of learning to walk with all these beautiful tools of protection, sage and incense, putting the protection around the food I'm about to intake. That kind of environmental and physical protection was never second nature for me, although I've certainly been around it and practiced it on and off. So I'm definitely aspiring to that, to integrating it more deeply. And then the other thing you and I have definitely talked about and exchanged stories about is that aspect of protecting, like almost like our inner child, like our hearts and our deepest intuition and inner knowing from external influence. And especially when we get around people with pretty like high vibrational intensity, it can be really challenging for people like me who grew up kind of like a sponge for other people's energy. And I was super empathetic. And then the flip side of that is I would stop even knowing where my own feelings began and where another person's ended. I just kind of would take on someone else's feelings. Throughout my whole life, I would do this until I got into deep therapy and began to unravel. I would feel those feelings as if they were my own and literally not know that they weren't mine. So therapy was a huge help for me in starting to untangle those energies and see them for what they are and whom they belong to. And then when I stepped into a spiritual life, oh my goodness. Most recently with Tosha Silver's teachings, I just appreciated so many of her teachings and classes on protecting my energy. For example, she gave a great tool, which is imagining your sacral chakra, which is the kind of womb center or lower belly for men, and imagining that chakra point, that energy point in your body, which apparently is where we normally just inadvertently can soak up the unwanted, unneeded, unnecessary, influential energy of other people. Imagine before we're going out and interacting with other people, or even in the moment, that it's like a camera aperture or a rose petal blossom opening, and then you just imagine it closing down. It doesn't have to be shut tight. You can leave a little opening, but actually imagine it getting quite small, controlling that energetic chakra with your imagination. And that Tosha explained that that actually helps protect us from absorbing inadvertently other people's energy. And I still work with this a lot. I really like that image. It's easy for me to access. And then Chelsea, you may remember you had shared with me, was it Rob Dial? Who is it that shared when you said he had this fun idea where you push the side of your thumb and it was like, pew, and you made the sound like, pew, and you imagine like, you remember that? You imagine like a white light, a force field. And I know many energy workers work with this too, this idea of putting a force field around you of white light, just imagining it and basically manifesting it like, may it be so, that it's protecting you. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Yeah, there's quite a few people that actually have, like you said, that have used that technique of putting the field of protection around you. And that's definitely another practice that I do a lot of the times whenever I'm going into a social event, especially those that I feel are a little more challenging for me. Sometimes family interactions can feel pretty intense and triggering. So a lot of the times, and also absorbing, taking on worry or fear or shame or guilt or whatever. And so yeah, a lot of times before going to any kind of event, I'll do that. I actually have like whole little like prayer and blessing, which is interesting thinking about like what you had mentioned before, that it's kind of like all integrated. And I had heard something and it really resonated with me. And, it's like, yes, there's like all of the practices and all of the rituals, which obviously I love that aspect. And then there's also just like, for me, it's our intention. And you kind of alluded to this of, it's like actually taking the time and putting your attention and intention into something, because we are the ones that are powerful. We are the ones that hold all this like power and magic inside of us. And so, these things that we give it to, whether it's speaking these intentions into our water before we drink it, or like you had mentioned about the food. I tell my food like, oh, I absorb the highest nutrition, the highest vibration from you. And I like thank it before eating it because I am speaking the intention, I'm speaking the magic into it and then taking it in. And so, yeah, that was something that I had heard that really resonated with me because, you think about, okay, like, whenever you're born, like, what are you born with? Nothing. I mean, you're born into this body, but there's no sage or things around you. And not to say that they don't like serve their purpose because I love using all of them. And also, it's the intention whenever I'm using it and the process and the act of doing it, I feel like also adds to it.
100%. And I would say personally, that's why I always gravitate myself and towards other people who have the same mindset as me, which is intention and spiritually oriented versus like the religiosity of ritual without the internal heart engine of the intention. Exactly what you said. That's really meaningful to me. And that's why I'm okay with the fact that I'm not already doing all the things, that I would like to be doing as far as clearing the space for myself and setting the intention before I eat. Because if I'm not there yet, I would rather be real with it and get there in a real way and do it in a real way versus just like say the prayer. Like for a long time, I was very robotic. And in my kind of Orthodox Jewish life while I was married, and I would say this specific Hebrew prayer before I would eat, like literally a bite of anything at the beginning of every meal and every new bite and everything. And I enjoyed it and I reveled in it and I got in, especially in the beginning when I learned about what it meant and the intention and the Kabbalistic, mystical, coded meaning behind the prayers. I was like, woo, I was high from it. But when that faded and I kind of forgot all of that and the intention slipped away and it became robotic, then what is the point? It's like that's just perpetuating a shell of something. And without the heart, I don't think it's helpful and it's not meaningful and it's a waste of time, in my opinion. But also I wanted to say regarding water, because you mentioned that. And I know as a nurse, I'm sure you were like washing your hands every 5 seconds. And I know when you were visiting me too, you're like so in that mindset of constantly washing your hands. And I have to say, I was always kind of like a lazy kid that didn't like bother washing my hands. Like I did the bare minimum. And I'm not saying that like definitely soap and, antibacterial and that is all important for germs. But then it was brought to my attention initially, gosh, I want to say almost like 10 years ago, maybe, or something close to that, when my son was having a lot of problems that an allergist couldn't address, but it was clearly crazy allergies and his face was breaking out and all these problems. And I myself could barely eat like all these different foods. As I got older, like through my late 40s, like all of a sudden I just like couldn't eat spicy. I couldn't eat coconut. I couldn't eat so many things I could eat my whole life. And I wound up working with a practitioner who does this practice that's called NAET. It's very specific. It's very interesting. It's a long ass process because she has a vial and she does muscle testing and she has this like almost like massager that like kind of like drills into your body comfortably while you're holding the vial of the thing that you need to no longer be allergic to. But first she does like a baseline of 15 of these things. And for the day after she treats you, you can't touch that thing. And if you do, you'll see like your body will respond. Like it's very crazy, energetic work. But all this is to say, she was a friend as well. And I observed her washing her hands. And she wasn't even necessarily using soap. She was just washing them between each process of each session with me. Like she'll come and give me a vial, then she'll put water in her hands and then she'll, go, I have to sit with it for certain. Then she'll come back and she'll do another thing. And each time she was rinsing her hands, let's say. And from that observation, it like gifted me an up level in my head of the ability of water to cleanse. Because also, meanwhile, I had been a part of this Orthodox spiritual Jewish life with the Kabbalah Center, learning about the deep mystical purpose and reason for prayers and all the different activities and rituals. And one of the things that's like the most meaningful, let's say, ritual, it's called a mikveh. It's the ritual bath that the men will get in naked and do a certain amount of full body dunks and do certain meditations and prayers before they pray every single morning. They do it every single morning. And the women were encouraged to do it, like, for example, after you're on your moon, to like really give your whole body. It's not like physically you can already take a shower. It's like an energetic cleanse, because it was a certain number of dunks that was like had a mystical meaning. And then also like numerologically, and then also certain meditations and prayers that you would say out loud. And it was so powerful. And you could do it in the ocean if you didn't have access to a ritual bath. And so anyway, having that context and watching Valerie, the NAET practitioner, was like, oh, water. Oh my God, water. Like you're saying, you shower, like the water, water, water. And finally, just like as a little bonus piece of information about the power of this use of water to cleanse, what Kabbalah tells a pregnant woman to do, if she can, and if she's comfortable doing so, is to go to the mikveh or a pool or wherever every single day of your pregnancy and do minimum 10, because of the 10 sefirot, the 10 luminous emanations in like the Kabbalistic explanation of like the layers of energetic reality. So you would do 10, I would sometimes do 101 for the numerology of the angel Michael, like all these cool different options. And you would say the different Hebrew prayers and meditations. I did that at least for my first 3 kids. My last one, I was a little lazier, but I did it every single day of my pregnancy. And so did my friends. And often we'd do it together, just like 2, 3, 4 naked women, just like boing, boing, bouncing up and down together and doing the prayers. And I have no doubt that it was such an agent of cleansing for me and for the baby. I know all of these things, it's almost like our woo episode from our way back. We have the woo part 1 and part 2. This is like one of those spiritual things, unlike the Korean diet, when you could that we talked about, that you can take your blood and see the white blood cells growing. So you're like, okay, that's working. The mikveh or the sage or the Palo Santo or the connection to your food before you eat it, or closing up your sacral chakra before you go out in the world. These are things you have no option other than just to play with them and decide whether they work for you and to feel into them.
That's really more, I think, what all of the energetic work and preparation and practices, it's all about feeling. It's not about being able to see certain results. That's more the logical mind and our mathematical, I think it's the right side of the brain. I feel like my brain's a little,
the right
today.
Is the creative. Yeah. The left is the mathematical.
Left.
Yeah.
I guess I always think about I always consider like people that can write left-handed really creative. Left-handed or left-sided politics, more liberal and flowy.
Totally. It does have that connotation and connection. The only reason I ever remember it, by the way, so you can use this mnemonic as a side note, is when I was in high school, there was an art book and it was entitled Drawing on the Right Side of Your Brain. And the whole purpose of the book was to get you out of the left side and into the right side in order to be an artist. That's literally the only way I'm able to remember it, Chelsea, like ever. Drawing on the right side of the brain. Because it's like, the right, not the wrong, and also double meaning. And so that's it. I think about that, and that's how I know each time.
I love that. Yeah, just more so feeling what feels good to you and feeling into the different things, like even just taking a moment before you arrive somewhere, like what we do every day, and take 3 breaths, breathing, like Batsheva had mentioned, like making just like literally drawing a box around yourself. Like, oh, okay, I'm drawing this space around me, protecting my energy, protecting anyone else's energy from entering into my space. I have a friend, we like to kind of snap around whenever one of us, like if one of us says something that we don't want to absorb or take on, we're like, oh, no, get that out of here. So it's like using sound and vibration, but it's really like the intention of it, I think. What are you intending? And really thinking about that, because a lot of the times we're moving so quickly. This is kind of how I relate my morning routine to kind of what you were saying, like with the Kabbalistic stuff and the routines and the rituals. Like it got to where it was just robotic. I sometimes can tell whenever my morning routine or my daily routine has gotten to that. Like I'm just doing it to like check it off instead of like actually doing it to be present and to connect and to be in the space and really call in and think about what it is that I'm wanting, like whether that be for an interaction with somebody or an experience or for the day or whatever it is. But again, it's like coming back to the intention and like giving it your attention to really infuse it with your own unique magic.
And I will also just offer, if you find that you have inadvertently picked up other people's energy anyway, either despite your best efforts or you forgot to do the energetic protection with yourself, because turns out you're human, I would go back and review maybe episode, was it 3 or 4, the Wreck-It episode, because smashing a coconut or a watermelon or something really satisfying and safe can be an easy and excellent and quick way to get rid of energy that you accidentally picked up, as well as, like Chelsea said, you can literally just like take a shower can help. You can use scrubs and watch it go down the drain and meditate that it's leaving your body. You can also do breath work, as Chelsea does with a lot of her clients, helping them release. And you can do meditations by yourself, or you can find a guided one to cut cords, which is basically what happens when we get attached to people. Often people we also really love and or admire and or just spend a lot of time with, they become these energetic wires and cords that connect us that are not helping us. They're not for our highest to be connected in that way to that person, even if it's your beloved, even if it's your child, your parent. Better to energetically and mentally cut that cord in a way that makes sense to you visually and viscerally, and be free and free that person.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that. I was just thinking about the cord cutting, and I love that practice. So I feel like that pretty much wraps it up. How to cleanse yourself and prepare for the space, and then how to cleanse yourself afterwards. Just a few things that we like to do. And closing off, we will close how we usually do, which is by doing our daily W. So 1 win, 1 wow, and 1 wish. And my win for the day is that I'm feeling much better. I went to bed last night really not feeling well. And this morning, I feel like at least 50% better. So that was a huge win for me. And my wow is that I'm so grateful for my healthy body to be able to combat any germs or viruses or bacteria or whatever it is. And I'm also grateful for all the knowledge that I have regarding holistic and energetic. I was doing all the things last night, pulling out all the loose leaf teas and the herbs and the tinctures and doing all of the lymph node like drainage practices to activate and to move stuff in my body, and I can feel the difference. And so I'm just really grateful for all of that.
That is amazing. And I'm so happy to hear that you're feeling better, because I know you have a lot going on. And I'm also loving all your natural remedies. Chelsea told me that she makes a remedy tea for people and herself when she's under the weather called Kung Flu tea. Love it. Kung Flu fighter. I feel like you could sell that or you could just offer that recipe maybe on your website someday as a blog maybe. So thank you, Chelsea. I'm so glad you're feeling better. My wish for today, I'm going to capitalize on the subject of this podcast because, as I mentioned in the beginning, I really do have a desire to live more continuously and consistently in a space of gratitude, moment-to-moment gratitude and awareness, which specifically my wish is to bring that into my eating and drinking and environment as far as intentionality and use of ritual here and there. But for me, it's even mostly just taking that moment, that thought moment. I love, Chelsea, what you shared, what you think about before you eat. May you intake the highest, the best nutrients. That's so beautiful. I love to, maybe we spoke about this before, I love to imagine where all the food that I'm about to eat came from, like from farm to farmer's hands, went through a cleansing factory to the retail store, the people handling it. I love to feel grateful for all of those pieces of the puzzle before it reaches me. And I get a lot out of having that intentionality. And yet I generally don't do it. I haven't been doing it at all because I forgot. So my wish is I'm going to recall that and remember that and bring it back into my life in order to live with more intentionality and awareness. The end. That was really long.
It's always about coming back. Just coming back. Coming back to the breath.
I made it
coming
back.
back to the ritual. Coming back to ourselves.
And on that note, we hope you are going to come back and listen to next week. And always you can listen to past podcasts. And we hope that you will, if you haven't already, liked and subscribed and shared the Brighter Podcast. It is our mission to help your day and other people's days be brighter.
Thanks so much for joining us. Until next time.
Till next time.